What if a greenhouse could run year-round without using a single net watt of energy? Now, we've explored a lot of greenhouse designs here on Flock, but this one just might take the crown. A few years ago, Mount Cuba Center set out to build a year-round production greenhouse and headhouse that could grow native plants at scale, drawing as much energy as it produces. The result? A 7,700 square foot, 5-zone net zero marvel powered by solar above and warmed through geothermal below, utilizing an impressive network of 42 geothermal wells. With its passively cooled, open roof design and finely tuned climate controls, it stands as one of the most innovative greenhouse systems in the country, and we got full access for a behind-the-scenes tour. Well, we're at Mount Cuba Center, and we've been here before, but we've been seeing gardens, and now we've been waiting to see this amazing geothermal greenhouse.
Yes.
So can you tell me first, before we go in, a little bit about you and what brought you here to Mount Cuba, and if you started working on this project or were you working on something else?
Yeah, I'm James. I'm the greenhouse and nursery manager here. Before I came to Mount Cuba, I was working at Longwood Gardens, which I know you've made some visits to before, and was just kind of looking for a change. And like the mission of Mount Cuba Center, that's something that I really believe in, that I was excited to engage with, and there was an opportunity to kind of help work on, design, and build a new facility and get to be a part of that whole process. So
Yeah,
really good opportunity.
Very exciting.
Yeah, and I've been here almost 8 years now.
Oh,
so
that's great. Okay. So how excited were you when this took shape?
very excited. When I was in my interview, it was like 2 years until we'd have a new facility.
Right.
That was a little longer than that, yeah. But we moved in about 1.5 years ago after a long design and construction period. And in the end, it was actually pretty nice that it was that drawn out. It was my first time working on a project like this, so it gave me time to learn what I needed to learn to apply to this project. And now that it's finished, it's nice to be able to talk about it and be able to, really own those decisions, good or bad, that we came across through the project.
Exactly. Well, you learn from them.
Yeah.
Now, is this facility attached to this facility, like with the solar panels, or how does this work?
Yes. So this is what we call the head house, and that's really an industry term. Usually it's like you have a row of gutter-connected greenhouses, and one of them is the head house. It's like that workspace. Ours is a little bit more of a built structure. We're going for longevity here, hoping this building serves us for the next 60 years. But yeah, it really serves the greenhouse, which is here behind us. And we'll talk a lot about the energy function of the facility. This entire complex is designed to be net zero energy, so generating as much energy as it utilizes across the course of the year. So not off-grid, we're generating more than we use in the summer, using more than we generate in the winter, balancing out to that net zero. We haven't went through the tracking period for that yet, so designed to be right now. But I'll kind of talk about what goes into the design to achieve that. But I thought first we should see some plants and see some of the projects we have out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, because now you're putting it to work.
Yes.
You gotta see how good it is.
We produce all native plants here. That's the mission of Mount Cuba Center, and what we work with is all natives. And we're always trying to keep things on their natural cycle. So in the gardens, they practice ecological horticulture. They're mostly planting in the spring or in the fall when it's that softer.
So you're not forcing any plants at this stage, you're just...
Sometimes in the spring we do to get things ready for spring.
Ready, okay.
But yeah, this time of year, we're getting everything ready to go out for the fall. And so that's what we're seeing in here.
Nice.
So yeah, welcome to the greenhouse.
And you have like windows that open right up.
I know, it's great timing.
It's actually
You're seeing things
opening
on
up
the
right
move.
now, yeah.
Yeah,
so
we
this
had...
is all based on time of day or sunlight intensity? How is this working?
It is all based on like central indoor and outdoor temperature, and then other environmental factors that are happening. So we have all passive ventilation, so no active cooling. So everything that we have out here is native. We are looking to keep it mostly at ambient temperature, so we're fine with not having active cooling. But that means in the summer, things are mostly just wide open, as much airflow as we can get. But yes, in the winter, it's targeting a certain indoor heat temperature. We have different temperature zones, and it's adjusting lots of different things based on lots of different inputs to create that kind of perfect environment.
So if you have a really windy day, and I'm looking at some of those plants, if you have a really windy day, you have to just make sure that they're not going to be blowing over, right?
Yes, and we definitely deal with that. So you can see these stands here. Hold these plants up, these stands that are along the wall.
Yeah.
Those are called top hats. So that helps us. We use tactics like that.
So
as we go.
are these things that you learned once this has been designed, or that you've always had these kinds of things?
Yes, things that we've learned along the way.
Interesting. So it'd be interesting to hear like things that how you'd modify something
Definitely.
Because this looks already like a modification, but not on the design of this, but that you modified based on the wind coming in, for instance.
And that was something for us in the design period of this building was super helpful, was going to other places and hearing, what they did right, of course, but also what didn't go right and like how did you correct for that? That was really helpful to us. Let's step in here and you can kind of see some of the mechanics of the building a little bit more.
The fans look unbelievably small comparatively to how big this is. I mean, how powerful are these?
They may look like they're for cooling, but they're actually just for air movement.
Air movement, okay.
Yeah, anytime the roof is under 60% open, they come on automatically and just keep the air moving in here. That really breaks up pockets of humidity and kind of breaks up any microclimate so that the whole greenhouse is kind of that same temperature.
Right.
And yeah, there's just two of them. It makes this like O shape in the greenhouse that keeps the air moving.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming does it move this way too because the length of the greenhouse, because you have open doors and stuff?
We do get a lot of air movement that way.
Yeah.
In the winter, all these would be closed and they separate temperature zones. So yeah, like that house we were just in is really for overwintering, and so we would keep that at like a 38-degree Fahrenheit night temperature. In here, we keep it like a 58-degree temperature in the winter.
Now, when it's winter and there's snow, do you start heating it up so that the snow melts, or how do you operate with that?
We have heat loops that run along the top. You can see them there in the middle and along the outside.
So like on the ceiling itself?
Yes. So they kick on when we can either set it up automatically or we can program it, tell it to turn on, but they come on when there's snow and they're sending that heat right up to the roof. In theory, that means that the whole greenhouse doesn't have to warm up.
Right.
Which is good for energy usage. I mean, we can always kind of engineer our way out of energy problems, but if we're just utilizing as little energy as possible to begin with, that's our best option.
And this is not really a hot greenhouse, right? Because you have to, the plants are native, so they have to go through a cold period.
Yes, especially in the overwintering house. Yeah, it's 38 degrees. We don't want to leave that to a snow event, or otherwise we would have a dangerous buildup on the roof.
Right.
So the greenhouse itself, we utilize for lots of different outcomes. We obviously produce for the garden. The gardens tend to, if it's a cultivar of a native plant or something that's easily found that they're not too worried about the provenance of, they will purchase that in. But anything that they want to really know where it originated from in the wild, or if it's something that's harder to find, we tend to grow that for the garden. We also do a lot of production for our trial garden. When we just this year installed a grasses trial, so blue stems of the Mid-Atlantic. That's our newest trial upcoming, and we produced a lot of those from seed because they weren't commercially available.
Yeah.
This is a second kind of category of what we do, an example of it, which is work for other conservation organizations. And the kind of typical model is maybe like a state or federal agency. They have rare plants on their property. They want to increase the size of that population, make it a little more stable in the wild. So they'll collect seed or plant material, bring it to us. We grow those plants out and then return them to the wild. Also developing that propagation protocol information.
Yeah, well, that's always helpful. Creating like a handbook of how to best grow it is, we don't often think about it, but like Mother Nature is taking care of that, but when you take it out of Mother Nature, how do you recreate?
Yes. And it helps with like kind of barriers to entry and scalability. You know, we kind of do that legwork to figure out how to grow it and make a recipe essentially. And then it helps other organizations engage in that work. And when someone wants a lot of them, we're pretty small scale here. So that's when we can kind of send them with that recipe to a larger producer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is a Carex stricta, which itself is not a rare plant, but it supports a rare bog turtle.
Oh, interesting.
And so the state of Delaware brought us some Carex stricta that we have been dividing from and returning to the wild. So they want to know where these genetics came from since this is a wild population. So we're returning those genetics back to them. But they want these nice established crowns because the turtles need like a big established crown to climb up into to lay their eggs.
Oh, that's cute.
So we give them nice full plants. They go out into the bogs and create that kind of instant habitat.
That's great.
And that's where we get some of our most interesting work from. I mean, it's different every year. We have different projects going on. This is an example of one that started as a conservation project. So this is Cyperus plunknettii. We grew this for the state of Maryland. And once we fulfilled that conservation need, they let us hang on to some of that seed.
Yeah,
and
it's super cool looking, right? Very
like
structural, and
it's
like a, you know, it's like a, I didn't know we had like a native papyrus basically, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives this like fireworks effect when it's in seed and flower. So we saw display potential for it, and now it's utilized in our formal gardens.
Even in the middle of a container, you know?
Yes.
It's just
that thriller aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So there can be kind of, you know, we obviously did this good ex situ work, or in situ work, where we're returning these plants to the wild. We were able to develop a protocol so that that work can carry forward into the future. And then we get collections development for our garden.
You get rewarded in the free plants.
Exactly. As you can see, lots of small numbers of many different things. That's like really the niche that we kind of fill here. If someone came to a commercial producer potentially, say this Rhynchospora, for example.
Look at this Amsonia too. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted.
No worries.
It looks more prostrate, but is it?
It is, yeah. This one's called Georgia Pancake.
Wow, that is a cool one.
And it does have that like low growing form.
Yeah.
This was in our Amsonia trial, which the report was released maybe about a year ago.
Nice.
So people can check that out on our website. And this is one that people are really interested in commercially, but it's not really commercially available. And that's kind of like the third category of what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we do sell plants here, but it's kind of a minor thing
it's
compared.
Small.
Yeah, it's small.
It's like you could see that you have some plants for sale, but it's not like, you're not like a nursery.
Exactly.
So
yeah, with our sales, we want people to come here and be inspired by what they see, maybe have a chance to take a piece of that home.
Yeah.
But on a broader scale, we don't have a huge stake in that game, but we do know that for producers, commercial producers to grow something, there has to be demand there. So through our trial reports, we're helping to create that demand. And then we know that for them to take on that project before that demand is created, the more information or even plant material that we can give to them.
Or even how to grow it, like you were saying there, you know, back there.
Kind of lowers those barriers to entry, like I mentioned. So we do work with the commercial industry to produce plants in a way that a commercial producer can replicate. Just makes it easier to get those plants into their lineup.
Yeah, and sorry,
oh, no worries.
Sidetracked you, but
the niche we fill is what I was kind of mentioning. This is a very small number of plants. Not much published information on how to grow this Rhynchospora, and we're doing this for the state of Delaware. So if you take this to a commercial producer, I'm sure you can find people who would do that, but it's just not very worth the amount of effort that might need to go into it. So that's that kind of small scale that we can do. We can figure this out on a level where someone brings us a handful of seeds.
You're like a boutique agency, you know, you're like a boutique plant grower.
Yes, we are willing to put in the effort to figure that out on a small scale.
Yeah, exactly.
So we think that's kind of an important role.
I mean, I could see that somebody would say, why make an effort? It's so thin, and you know, it's almost a plant that you would not recognize out.
Absolutely.
I like how it's called rariflora. So
really
it's like already rare.
Giving itself away there, yeah, very diminutive, but you know, it's an important part of the greater ecosystem that we want to preserve. So.
Well, I know your reports are great. I mean, I even looked at the carex report, and it inspired me to actually plant with more carex.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more growers who are growing carex.
Yes.
Because I did try to seed, and it's like dust. You know, you're like throwing dust into the wind, and you're like, maybe something's going to seed. So it's nice when you could get actually some starts. You know, some landscape plugs or deep plugs from the landscape growers.
Yeah, and speaking of demand, the carex report was really the first time that we saw a top performer. When that report was released, pretty much immediately, those plants were sold out on the wholesale market.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So we've been putting a lot more effort into providing that information a year or 2 years ahead of those reports coming out so that people have time to bulk up supply.
That's great.
We were talking earlier about these wide open vents.
Yes.
And that is a little bit different for a greenhouse. Usually you would be screening vents.
Exactly, yeah.
Trying to exclude pests as much as possible and creating kind of a quarantine zone inside. We want those vents to be open because we have this passive ventilation system. So ambient temperature air is coming in, it warms in the greenhouse, it rises out of the roof, make that kind of chimney effect. If we screen this, like for thrips, for example, it has to be such a fine screen that it would really impede that airflow.
I see.
So we instead have it wide open, which invites plenty of pests in.
Yeah.
But we also are hoping to invite plenty of beneficial insects
Exactly.
in.
I guess where the pests are, the beneficial insects should follow.
Yeah, they will, yeah. And we do an IPM approach to integrated pest management. We release beneficial insects. We do very little chemical application inside the greenhouse. So we have this matrix planting outside, which one kind of softens the building amongst this landscape of concrete around. But then also we're hoping to draw those beneficial insects here and find their way on inside.
Yep.
And we've seen evidence of that. We've seen lacewing laying eggs in the greenhouse. So we're looking to create kind of a biologically diverse system inside instead of a quarantine zone. And this matrix planting is meant to be very low maintenance, plants that...
I could see that. And the ones that will spread on their own too, you know, but they're corralled in by the cement.
Yeah, plants that kind of play well together and hold each other up. And this, I'm sure, will evolve over time. We'll add things to it. But this is kind of our starting point here.
What is this one right here with?
That is a Lespedeza.
Oh, it's a Lespedeza.
Capitata.
Oh, nice.
So a nitrogen fixer.
Yeah.
And that is the most asked about plant in this. I think it is an uncommon
one. It's so
one.
fuzzy. Yeah, it's very, like I have this native Lespedeza that's a little bit closer to the ground, like a little bit more prostrate, but this one is, and then of course you see the non-native ones like Gibraltar or whatever, which are the ones with fancy, but I love I'm guessing that it had flowered and
yes,
this is
it
what
has just finished flowering.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And it adds a nice height out there when you kind of look down amongst the group.
Yeah.
The pycnanthemum has taken over a little bit, but the pollinators do love it. So.
Yes, I know, and that's the one thing I really love about the pycnanthemum is that the pollinators adore it.
Yes.
Yep. And then you have some Vernonia, I guess, ironweed.
Yep, this is Vernonia glauca. And this is actually one that we've found gets a little too tall, especially when it's closer to the vents. And we have some rust issues with it in this planting, which can kind of transfer onto Vernonia
Oh, yeah, you gotta
inside.
be careful about that. Yeah, because you are doing all native plants and you're gonna have like and like, yeah.
So the design gets edited a bit over time. We'll step into our propagation house here. So I mentioned before, we're always trying to keep things on their natural cycle. This is a really lean time of year for propagation for us. We are not starting very many seed this time of year, not taking very many cuttings because we want those plants to go dormant for the winter.
Right.
Here we are in August.
August, yeah.
That would be, that wouldn't work out for us very well. So pretty empty this time of year, but when we talk about the energy functions of the facility, I think of it as very cutting edge. In terms of the greenhouse technology, it's more state-of-the-art. So what we have in here is very similar to other propagation houses you would find.
Mist systems, clearly,
Yep, mist for humidity. We have this root zone heat down here.
Oh, that's interesting. Look at that.
Yeah,
it
that
looks like just irrigation piping.
It does look like irrigation, yeah. But it runs hot water through it and keeps the root zones of those plants warm.
Yep.
So if this were like springtime or winter and we had this flat of cuttings, we could keep the air temperature lower, which would help with transpiration and help them make that transition to rooting. But we could keep that soil zone nice and warm, which helps them to put those roots on. Everything is automated, but we have full control over those set points and over that programming, really. So each bench is also individual. So we basically can have 6 different environments in here in terms of mist and in terms of bottom heat. We can run at different temperatures.
Yeah.
And that's what, this manifold is what serves the bench, and underneath there are valves that open and close it. So that's how we can maintain those different temperatures.
Now, when you have heat here, do you have heat in this floor at all, or no?
No floor heat, since we're growing on benches.
On benches, yeah. And then you have the lights up here.
Yes.
And what kind of lights are these?
These are all high-pressure sodium lights, which for a greenhouse designed to be net zero energy, that might seem a little strange, so they're not LEDs.
Right.
But we were designing this facility, now we're looking at 7 years ago, and we just weren't quite sure about that LED technology. But what I will say is, at most, we are only ever running like 4 of these lights because, again, mostly keeping things on their dormancy cycle. We're not often forcing things through the winter.
Yeah.
So for us, either way, it wasn't a big energy trade-off. These do put off heat. It's heat that's not very efficiently generated, but we run them in the winter. It's a byproduct that's usable in the greenhouse. So if we, in 20 years when we replace these, I'm sure we will go with an LED fixture at that point. But the high pressure sodium is a very proven greenhouse technology that we utilized in here.
And you have another shade cloth as well. So this is just to cut some of the light, obviously, in this. Okay.
Yes, and for propagation, we do want to provide shade, create that soft environment for young plants. So yeah, lights, shade, bottom heat, mist, very common greenhouse propagation zone technologies.
Do you have any RO water or anything special about your water, especially so it doesn't like gunk up in the system, or any new techniques that you're using?
Heat system, as well as all of our perimeter heat and like that snow melt I mentioned before, is all a closed system. So it's a treated system to prevent corrosion. In terms of our irrigation water, we have a well system here that we're fed from. And then we also have rainwater capture, which I'll give you a look at when we pass through the head house. So the glazing overhead and even these side panels, this is an acrylic glazing. We chose this versus glass.
Wow, it's pretty thick.
Yeah, and it's a twin wall. Now this is a really thin twin wall. When you look at the end walls and overhead, I see some mist action there.
Yeah, this is significantly thicker.
Oh, I see.
Yes, and so that's for the exterior. And that provides that air space, so good insulation space.
Yeah.
And versus like a single pane glass.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, when we went to the Netherlands, they literally had a greenhouse inside a greenhouse just to kind of give another air space, you know, for that. But I guess this is like probably a much more efficient way of doing it, because you can't imagine building another greenhouse around this.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Which at some point you then worry about light transmission. The more layers you add, the less light you're getting in the greenhouse.
It's always a trade-off, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But this acrylic product is warranted to not yellow more than 5% over 30 years. So this glazing should be on here for at least 30 years, and you know, hopefully even beyond that.
What is the R value of something like this? Do you know?
It is, I don't want to misspeak, but it's about double of what glass is, which is still not very high compared to like an insulated building.
Yeah, of course.
I think it also depends on the amount of light that you'll have outside, because you know, shining the sunlight through that, you will gain a lot of
heat.
Yeah, we definitely see heat gain during the during the day. On a sunny day, we're in the winter rarely heating because you get that gain from the sun. You're really then like venting out little bits of that warm air to keep it cool enough.
I guess glass, they also have a U value versus an R value.
A U value, yeah.
I'm curious if this has a U value rating.
Yeah, all that was
to compare it to like triple pane glass or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and with a greenhouse, when you do double or triple pane glass, this is like an all one big moving system. And so glass isn't as bendable as the acrylic is. And so over time, a lot of times those glass panels get out of orientation. You start to get things between them. You can have a lot of issues with like a double layer of glass. If we had single pane glass, we would have energy curtains at least that would pull over at night and keep the heat inside. But the acrylic is also more hail resistant. And another good benefit of it is that mid-rib spacing.
Yeah.
That is a space that birds
I was going to say
don't see as a place they can pass through.
It's bird safe.
Yeah, it helps with bird strikes.
And I was going to ask if that was for bird strikes or if it was just for the to keep the glass structure, but it probably serves a dual purpose.
For us, it does.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was designed that way, but it definitely serves that purpose for us. Yeah, and so all these systems we've been talking about here, everything is automated through our greenhouse control system. So we put all that programming in, we have control over all those set points, and then it functions mostly on its own. We are always trying to program it in the way that it will utilize as least energy as possible. So a greenhouse control system at its core really wants to make like a perfect environment.
Right.
We're always trying to tell it, we're willing to accept like this far off perfect if it's going to use less energy.
Right.
So we've had a lot of creative tactics in our control system to try to do that.
Fighting with the algorithm.
Right. I'll let you pull the red lever.
Oh, fantastic.
That's our sliding door. So yeah, in the winter, that would be separating temperature zones, but in the summer, we just keep it that way for the propagation house beyond.
So how many greenhouses do you have in this new greenhouse?
Five
different zones, okay.
Yep. Yeah, we can step in here briefly. And so they're all designed to be a little bit different. Most everywhere, we're growing on benches, but here we're looking to create sort of little microclimates. So in a modern greenhouse, it's designed where like every place in the greenhouse is meant to be one environment. Because if you're growing a whole house of something, you don't really want to know have to know like, oh, that corner stays a little colder, or that corner doesn't get quite as much sun. So we're trying to make a modern greenhouse is trying to do that. But in here, we've got lots of little things that need sort of little specialized care. So with these tiers on here, we work to create different amounts of shade, little microclimates for things,
Right.
and provide them what they need. And then we have some open floor space down there. So as we go into the future, all different sizes of pots or different projects, we kind of have places that we can work on those.
And have you reached a point where you're like, oh man, I wish this was a little bit bigger, but it looks like you have space now, but I don't know what it looks like in the fall or the spring months. How do you feel? We
haven't reached capacity yet.
Good, okay, that's good news.
Yes, we were, the board of our organization was pretty adamant on, you always see this with greenhouses, it's like you build it for what you need, but it takes 5 years to get there, and when you move in, you're already out of space.
Right.
So they were very adamant on sort of looking towards the future and having it a little larger than we needed when we started, and we've definitely already filled it more than we thought we would. And then also the systems and the physical footprint is designed where we can add one more greenhouse bay without having to upgrade our heating system or our electrical system.
Okay.
It's all designed to support more than is already here for the future.
So where does the solar panels come in? Where does the geothermal aspect come in? Is it something that travels out down or out, or tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so net zero energy, we have lots of tactics that we get there, building insulation, smart design of the building. But yes, our big avenues to that are that our heating is provided by heat pumps. So that gets us to electric, which we provide through solar panels. So the whole south-facing roof of the head house has solar on it, and there's a canopy over our parking lot down below, a carport. So that's the electricity, and then those heat pumps are associated with a geothermal well field. So we have 42 geothermal wells that are about 300 feet deep.
Oh, so you've gone down.
Yes,
okay.
we went down.
Yeah.
For our site here, we're working in kind of confined space. We couldn't do the outward application. We have those 42 geothermal wells, and those are kind of like an earth battery for us. So when you think of usual greenhouse heat, whether that's like a propane-fueled boiler or in our old facility, we had forced air propane units. So it's like 1 unit of energy propane in, little less than 1 unit of heat out. You're losing some in like exhaust from that combustion. Whereas the heat pump, 1 unit of energy in, more than 1 unit of heat out. So more efficient way of generating heat. But then that's also associated with those geothermal wells. So when you think of that in like a residential application, as it gets colder and colder, it's working on colder and colder outdoor temperatures, and it runs less and less efficiently. To where eventually you're just on like an electric coil, which isn't a particularly efficient way to generate heat. But with these, they have that constant input. So they're always getting 50 degrees around that temperature from the earth. And so on a 0 degree night, 15-mile-an-hour winds, these greenhouses are certainly calling for more heat more frequently. So those heat pumps are running more often or longer, but they're not working any harder. They're not working any less efficiently because they're still getting 50-degree input.
Right, but again, you're not really heating these to a certain degree. It's not like it's a tropical house.
Right, and that's a big help for us. We have our most central zone runs 65 at night, which is typical for a greenhouse. But yes, this one, which is put on the outside with the most exterior walls, runs 38 degrees. So it often borrows heat from those zones as they lose it. So yeah, what we're producing helps us get towards that net zero energy. The size of our facility, this is about 7,200 square feet. We have 42 geothermal wells. So
and how far away are they? Like, and
they're not far.
Where's the system?
They're just on the other side of the head house.
Oh, okay, I got it.
They're all buried underground though, so there's no visual out there. But they're kind of this array that goes around the back of the building, and we're able to grow on top of them.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah,
it's all buried out there.
Land.
Also, with that, these units that you see hanging in the house, those are for balancing the geothermal system. They're part of our heat need, so when the perimeter heat doesn't keep up, these can come on and add more heat to the space. But they also have a separate line. So I mentioned that closed system before. It's a water-to-water heat pump. So there's the loop that goes into the ground, serves the compressors of the heat pump, and then there's the loop that goes to the greenhouse. So that what comes through the greenhouse never actually goes in the ground. Except for these units, there is a separate loop that runs from here all the way to the ground, all the way back out, and that's for balancing the system in the summer. So since we have that array 300 feet deep, the core of that can start to change temperature over time and not be as efficient because of that. You know, we're pulling heat out all winter, it won't always naturally warm up. So these can send heat back into the ground in the summer if we need to.
Do you ever have to cool this in this, like in the summer months, like where we are now? Or is the airflow enough to cool it down?
When it is 95 plus, the plants would love to be a little cooler, but we don't have that ability.
Yeah.
And in the middle of summer, we're often not working our heaviest in propagation where that would be most critical.
Right.
So we haven't found a lot of instances where we've thought we had problems with these plants because we couldn't keep them cool enough. Anything that we have established, they do kind of shut down when it's that hot during the day, but providing them cooling would maybe just help them to finish a little bit faster, but we're not usually
So what are those things that you learned from it and you're like, I would have tweaked this a little bit?
Yeah, this space right here, this is kind of a big one, but it's maybe a cautionary tale of lining up drawings and construction. So these are the control panels for the greenhouse, designed to be in a greenhouse, have rubber seals around them, know that they can get wet. On the opposite side, we have all of our electric service. These are indoor rated panels, not designed to be outside. But we have an open roof facility.
Oh, no.
So really more of a outdoor application.
Well, couldn't you just build another box around it?
We could, and that might be an option.
Yeah.
We've added these sort of very minuscule rain shedding panels here, which actually do work very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the control system doesn't anticipate rain. So it only knows when it's currently raining. So when a thunderstorm sweeps up, it rains in here for a minute and a half, 2 minutes before the roof closes. So in the long run, we may just fix this part of the roof where it doesn't vent in that way and add different type of ventilation.
It does make sense, you know, thinking about it though, that you would put this as like, you have a central control room and you'd have this, you know.
And each person who's working on the project, you know, this works for electric, this works for greenhouse, this works for plumbing.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of put them all together and be like, does it work all at once?
Right.
And this is an example of where that didn't go quite right. I'll show you another example in the head house. Let's walk that way. But first I'll show you the rainwater harvest here.
Oh yes, please do.
So we have really all of the impervious surfaces around, all that water is being captured somewhere. Some of it gets pulled from the roof of the head house and the roof of the greenhouse, and we reuse that for rainwater. Everything else goes into infiltration beds under the ground and is infiltrated.
This is a beautiful system.
I'm salivating.
I know, this is really, I mean, and look at that, look at the copper manifold right there.
Oh,
it's really beautiful.
The copper work in this building, especially where the geothermal wells all come in and batch together.
Yeah.
There were tradesmen here doing copper work for a couple months, and it's all covered in insulation now. I mean, you get to see this.
It's like a work of art.
It is.
And then
like
look at this, they have like the little temperatures on. Yeah.
Yep, we can see it all in here. So this is for tempering the water, and I'll get to that at the end of the process. Got a little alarm there that's telling us we've had some issues with the UV light when the water stops moving. It wants to think that it's not working right.
Okay.
So even a year and a half later, we were working on little problems still. But the rainwater gets captured in big tanks outside. You can see one through that door
look at that
there.
one.
And we have about 4,000 gallons capacity between the two tanks that we have. Before the water goes into that, there's like a vortex filter. So the water kind of flows in from the roof and it spins around this screen that's on the inside. So anything major falls through and then the water wicks through that screen. So really clean water that's coming into those tanks. But things like pollen and dust can make it through.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where this comes in. So we've got a bag filter, a charcoal filter, and then a UV light, and then it comes into this tank, which is our tempering day tank.
So the UV light is really for like bacteria and other, I mean, is this drinkable? It sounds like it'd be drinkable if it's going through like the charcoal and the UV.
It seems like it would be. We wouldn't encourage it.
Yeah.
We have potable water in the
plants.
house. Yes, definitely. And this is how the water gets tempered. So we want to, in the winter, be watering with like room temperature, lukewarm kind of water. It sits in this room that's heated, so it just borrows the heat from the building and gets the temperature to where it needs to be. Now, if this maybe fills during the day and isn't that temperature, that's where these come in that we were looking at before. These are heat exchangers. So they're coming from that same source, those heat pumps is serving everything, and it's just a plate exchanger. So the heated water from the heat pumps mixing with the cold water that's for irrigation, warming it to where it needs to be. We got our thermometers up here, sending that out to the greenhouse. So it's reading that temperature all the time. It's modulating these small valves here to make it what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So technical, but at the end we also have a big old bypass that if anything goes wrong here,
You could shut it off.
yes, and we have well water that feeds the facility.
Well, you always need a backup to the backup to the backup.
In greenhouse,
And,
energy, heat, and water.
Yeah.
You've got to have backups because if you lose those, you're in trouble very quickly, depending on the season. Yeah, so this doesn't fully meet our capacity. We do use well water in the summer, but in the winter, we're pretty much on rainwater the whole time.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I do wonder how much you collect on your roof, because is it coming off of this roof or the greenhouse
Both.
roofs? Okay.
We can collect a lot.
Yeah.
We only have about 4,000 gallons capacity.
Yeah, only.
I know, right?
It seems like a lot.
I say only because we're going to have 12,000 gallons underground, but long design, long construction, a few things were lost in cost engineering, and that underground tank was lost.
Yeah,
so smaller capacity in the end. But we didn't, go ahead.
Some of the pipes in there, they also say fertilized on
Yes.
it. How do you inject the fertilization into the water? Is that what comes out of the hose? It's just like ready to go?
We have that capability. Again, long-term expandability, we wanted to have that separate line. That way, if you want to inject fertilizer in that room and you're watering out there, you don't have to like drain one line, turn it over and run it.
But you're not doing the fertigation system.
We
you're
aren't
just
right
doing
now.
water.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
We mostly...
It's nice though that you looked ahead and you're like, oh, we do want that capacity to do that in the future potentially.
Exactly. We don't know how in the future we'll want to change what we are doing with our fertilization program, and we wanted to have that separate line. But yeah, we mostly fertilize with slow release fertilizer right now mixed into our media, and so we don't use that
Makes sense.
injector right now. So welcome to the head house.
Yeah, this is great. It's great.
This is
Look at that
this is our
woodwork.
workspace. I know the ceiling. The ceiling is beautiful with that tongue and groove application. And this space helps illustrate some of that energy design as well. I talked about delivering just the amount of energy that you need. That's very true in here because people are working in this space, so we're designing for people comfort to an extent. So this door here comes down in the winter, and we've got 3 different zones. So in here, we can walk in there in a little bit. This is like soil mixing, this is storage. People are very actively working in there. So we run that like 55 degrees in the winter. In here, people are more up and about, but kind of stationed for a while. We keep this at about 68. Then in the office area, people are sitting and hanging out for a long time. That's kept more like 72, 73. So just giving the heat where we need it, utilizing as little energy as possible. This is all passively cooled, so just like the greenhouse, we don't have any active cooling out here. The offices do, of course, but in this space, we don't. But you can see it feels pretty good in here.
It does, especially on an 82-degree day. So, yeah.
And that is really because we can cool the building down a lot at night. We have these big screen doors here that secure the building at night, and also...
Oh, there's screens.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this is really critical
I've never seen anything
cooling
like
the building.
Yeah, screens like this. It's like screens for the garage doors.
Double garage door track.
Yes, we do. Yeah, these are really, well, I guess they are designed for ventilation, of course, but they're used in warehouses to keep bugs out of like loading bays.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
But we have them kind of along this axis and this way as well, so that at night we can close them to secure the building, but it cools down so much in here at night. So yeah, on a very hot day, around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., it starts to get pretty warm in here, but that's kind of the time that a lot of people are done working for the day. And then we leave these the way they are. It cools down overnight, creates a nice environment for the next day.
Yeah, very good.
And of course, the height of the building, a lot of the heat is held up really high.
Yeah.
We have our fans here, and then these clear story windows that run all along provide a lot of natural light. But then they're also operable, again, automated, so they open up, and they, again, that chimney effect. Ambient air comes in, rises, has a place to leave the building. So you can feel the floors are sloped everywhere.
Yes, for the water to go down.
Yes, and that is great for us because we want to, we sweep all the time and keep the place very tidy, but there's a lot of dust in greenhouse production, so we like to be able to hose the floors down every month or so. And so everything is sloped to these drains, which is great, and that works really well. But you can see in this room, we then had to shim everything up underneath of these pallet racks because they need to be level. Same thing with the soil mixer.
Yeah, I was wondering whether they have like little built-in jacks where you jack them up. And
that would be great.
And then some of like dryers, and our washer dryer has that where they have like little screw that comes up.
That would have been great. And maybe that'll come in the future, or specially designed shims. We kind of had to have these cut to shape of the foot, and they're all different. Each foot is kind of at a different place. So,
by the way, I like how you have everything on rollies. You know what I mean? So you could grab the sand and you don't have to carry it. You could just roll it out.
Exactly.
Which is great.
Yep. Yeah, because this is like our storage space, but we're often mixing over there or in the other area.
Yeah, makes so much sense. You don't want anybody hurting their back, like pulling like a giant tub of vermiculite or soil out. So
yes, we try to think of ways to make work easier on ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
That longevity aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the space where we make our soil. We do start with a bagged media as kind of our base. This is from a company in Pennsylvania. It is a lower peat mix, so it has about 30% peat in it. Other components are composted pine bark and coconut coir. We cut the bags open on here, push them over on the incline conveyor. They load into that batch mixer where they churn up, and we add like our slow release media in there, slow release fertilizer. We add a mycorrhizal product and a root protectant biological product, and any other amendments we're trying to add can get mixed in there. And then it has a water bar along the top that you're kind of pointed at right now, and that lets us moisten the media to the level that we want.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to make all our media by hand on the benches.
Oh boy, so the fact that you can now mix it and pre-mix it like a batter, a big batter, is nice.
Yes. Yeah, it used to take us
And it's probably a little less dusty.
Definitely, and we have this exhaust fan over top of it, so we can run that while we're mixing, send that right out. And we typically, you saw our big bins over here, we're typically trying to put as much of what we grow in what we call our regular mix, so kind of an all-purpose mix. Now, we have plants from all different habitats out there, so we amend media as we need to, and that's what a lot of this stuff is, to make mixes that are more acidic or to make mixes that are more well-drained. We often, you saw the sand there. This is called...
Oh, the turfus.
Turfus, yeah. Have you seen that before?
I have, like the stuff they use in sports fields.
Yep, to reduce compaction.
Yep.
So it's like an expanded clay.
Yeah.
Yep. So that adds porosity to the soil. Whereas we use this chicken grit here.
So like an oyster shell kind of thing? Or
well, we have oyster shells too.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay.
This is like a like small pieces of granite. So that's like sharp drainage.
Right.
So we'll often combine the two, where we're adding drainage, but this is very heavy, so it'll compact the soil.
No, you just need the chickens, Nitrogen. Extra nitrogen.
I would love to have some chickens in
Yeah, you need to get some chickens.
I don't know if the organization has a policy about that yet.
And is this like a screener? This is where you screen things?
Yeah, we actually use that with so the peat comes in compressed bales. If we're making a higher peat media, we take and kind of rub it over that screen to break it down into the fine parts of the soil.
Which you'd probably need to say you have a bog mix, so I would imagine that's a little peatier, perhaps? Yeah.
Peat and sand. Yep.
Okay.
So high water retention and acidity in the peat.
Great.
Yep.
So organized.
Thank you. Thank you.
And spacious still, so you know what I mean? It's not like you're on top of one another.
Yeah, we have a lot of room to work in, which is good because a lot of different people use this space.
Yeah.
But it is designed for the long run in that the only structural walls, obviously the very outer walls are structural, but in terms of inside of the building, these two high walls are the only structural walls. Everything in the office is just interior separation walls. So if we decide 20 years down the line that we want to reconfigure this building it can be done relatively easy without structural intervention.
And what's all of the gear up there that we're looking at and the pipes leading to that?
That is our mechanical plant. So the
Okay.
heat pumps are up there. That's where the geothermal wells come in. This on the end is water filtration, and that's for removing PFAS in the water.
Okay, yeah.
There's new federal standards on that coming eventually.
So you already were nipping in at the bud
Yes.
and getting proactive on that. Okay.
Yep. So we've installed beyond like what the current regulated standards are, and that's just for drinking water. But we again want to create nice people spaces for the long run.
It's nice though how everything is labeled very like domestic cold water, heating, hot water supply. Like you kind of know what everything is, because sometimes you walk into a space and you're like, what does that do?
Yes.
Or like the irrigation piping where I'm like, is that for hot water or irrigation? But like these are really well labeled, so you get a
and
sense
for
of
our
what it
future
is.
selves.
Yes, indeed.
As
For all
a
the interns coming in, and they're like, you don't have to guess.
I don't have to answer as many
Yeah,
questions.
exactly. That's right.
But yeah, as an estate, you know, the estate was built starting in the 30s, so we have learned that over time. Lots of unlabeled things out there buried
Yeah.
in the ground that
Yep.
we don't know where they are. So very well
goes.
documented in this building where everything is.
Very good.
I'll show you our container storage over here.
That sounds good. Yeah.
That could be our next stop. People do tend to like to see our wine racks in here.
Ah, yeah. This is a nice fancy wine racks you got going here.
This
Large
is
wine
the
racks.
best way that we've found to store containers when you have all these different sizes that we use. Because when you stack them, they tend to compress a lot and are hard to get back apart.
Right.
And if you try to lay them on their side, they're gonna, they fall everywhere. So doing it
Yeah.
on this angle, it fits all different pot sizes.
That's interesting.
And they
It
stay.
creates a nice design effect too.
Right. It's
Yeah.
very visually appealing.
Yeah.
Yes. And really very nice craftsmanship on these. You can see where they've like beveled the support posts
Yep.
and trimmed it out. They're very nice. And so we have like a used pot rack over here. And then this is what we call clean pots over
yeah.
here.
So would these get washed at all?
Yep.
So into the system?
And that's what's
or?
happening over here.
Okay.
So we have a like soak, scrub, sanitize system. So things get soaked in here. We clear out that biofilm and soil as much as we can in here. Larger pots we'll do in here with a chemical sanitizer. And then we have our high temp dishwasher, which we use for our smaller pots.
Yeah, and that usually finishes pretty fast.
It does, yeah. It only takes like a minute and a half.
Yeah, people use it for like drinking glasses
Yep.
and bars and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they call it like a bartender dishwasher.
Yep.
And so for this, we are sanitizing, not sterilizing. And even then, this gets to like a 180-degree rinse cycle, so it's certainly not killing everything.
Right.
If a plant has died in a plastic pot and we don't know why, or if we do, and it was a disease that we don't want to transfer on, that goes into our recycling stream and is gotten rid of. Anything that had a healthy growing plant, we put through this cleaning and sanitizing system and reuse that pot.
I mean, what do you think is like the average life cycle for? I mean, these are always a little stronger, I feel
Yeah.
like. But like, what's the average life cycle for a nursery pot? You think?
For us, it really depends on where we grow it at.
Yeah.
If it sits outside in the sun, a lot shorter time because it has that UV degradation. But if it's grown more in a shadier spot in the greenhouse, I mean, they can last a really long time.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some that were probably 30 years old on the land where we are.
Over here.
Yeah.
Get them washed.
Yeah.
Oh,
get
right,
it washed,
right.
Yeah.
Washing service.
I think the mice had a field day on some of our pots.
Oh, no. Yeah, washing plastic, though, is tricky because something like this.
Yeah.
This,
They have all those little gaps
and you can see that
crevices.
film that you really have to get
Yeah,
off to be able to
yep.
sterilize it. It's very difficult. So that's where I say if it had something suspect in it, we're getting rid of that
Yeah.
pot. But if we feel that it had a healthy plant in it, we will reuse it. But we also try to use as many, there's some examples lined up there on the edge.
Right, and I saw some of your plants in the beginning were planted in these,
Yeah.
which you could just plant right into the ground, essentially, right?
This size you can. This is a
Okay.
cow pot. Maybe you've come across
the
those
dung,
before.
the dung ones.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yep.
Which, depending on the
Playing with shit right now.
depending on the age of the
Yeah.
groups that come through, different reactions.
Yeah,
I think they've got a nice earthy smell. Though.
yeah. Might as well, right? This one's different though. This smells like nothing.
Yeah.
Come on, yeah.
So these break down, I mean, plants root through them in a few weeks. And we'll use these like in our natural lands when we produce herbaceous plants for them for the fall.
I think the only problem with these is like if you have plants that love moisture, they almost like fall apart. You know, if it's a more dry loving plant, like it's easier. But I've gotten plants in the mail in these where they're like more moisture loving plants, and I'm like,
the pot is gone. Yeah. When we grow for natural lands, they tend to be, that's our natural lands at Mount Cuba. They tend to, the roots just eat the pot. You basically just have a plant sitting there at that point. But that works for them because they put it directly into the ground. But yeah, in a retail setting, it's tricky because of how quickly these degrade. And that's where these type of pots work a little bit better. These are both made from recycled paper and cardboard. This one is thicker, and it has a bit of a polymer in it. So there is a non-organic
so you can't really
component to
plant
this.
that one at all.
This one doesn't break down fast enough.
Right.
This, I also think, it's just paper and cardboard. You could plant it, especially if it's in like a wetter zone.
Yeah.
But we encourage people to just rip the pot
Rip it
off.
out. Yeah.
This, though, tends to mold. This actually works really well for us, and we can grow in this if you're, if it's not on the ground where it stays wet.
Yeah.
We can grow in these pots for usually a year before
But you
they start
can't
to fall
reuse
apart.
something like this.
No.
Yeah.
There's no way to.
So
There's no way to clean
that's
this.
you have, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen the
Exactly.
other. Yeah.
We think about that all the time with horticultural products,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, this is created once, but we use it over and over.
Exactly.
But then
Especially
it never,
some of these nursery pots are like heavy duty.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But it will never break down completely.
No.
Whereas these are single use, but they do break down, but then they're being generated over and over. Those are usually shipped to us from the US or Canada. These are usually coming from overseas. So I'd love to know what's the carbon footprint of these things.
Yeah.
But there's not usually very straightforward answers to that like full view of the sustainability of products.
But a lot of these, I'd imagine, you know, if I buy a nursery plant or whatnot, I usually keep a lot of these, especially nice ones. I keep on pointing to these, but like the long ones, even some of these where you could air prune them.
Yes.
I find them to be very useful. So,
Yeah,
you know,
reuse plant pots. It's great. We reuse them as much as we can. One thing I should mention in here is we have our walk-in cooler. That's where we're doing a lot of stratification.
Seed stratification.
Yes.
Okay.
And we also do that outside. So that's what kind of triggered it in my mind. We use our cooler to do seed stratification, and that's where we have more control over it. So if we want something to be ready for planting in May, we can then step that back to how long from a seedling to a finished plant, step that back to how long does it need its cold, moist stratification, and then we can do that, time that out in the cooler.
Got it.
So we'll walk down this
Okay.
way. So some natives, though, they do not want to be fooled in the cooler. They need like a freeze-thaw cycle to get that stratification.
I don't want to be fooled in a cooler.
Yeah, they know. They're like,
know.
nope, it's not time yet. So we'll do some of that outside, which I wanted to show you out here. So yeah, these spaces in the winter are overwintering houses. So they get covered with film plastic, opaque, and they're not heated. So it's plants that are really established but haven't went out to the garden yet that we're overwintering. But in the summer, we just cover them with shade and we use them as summer houses.
And this is to probably protect them from rodents, huh?
Yeah, squirrels.
Yeah.
Things like to work against us when we're living amongst nature. So yeah, it looks like a little bit of a mess in here, but this is really long-term stuff.
Okay.
So seeds that need to go through like a year or sometimes 2 years of that freeze-thaw cycle is what we'll usually do out here. And a lot of our ephemerals, trilliums, I see some Jeffersonia back there.
Yeah, I see the Jeffersonia diphylla back there. Is that an Asclepias of sorts, or what is that one?
This
that
year,
was a trillium, but it's something else growing in there.
That's not a trillium.
Yeah.
That is a hitchhiker of some sort.
Yeah.
That probably blew in here through the cage.
Oh, look at the butterfly. He's like, oh, I thought there was a sky.
Yeah, usually at the end of the day, we come through with our little net and help them out if they haven't found their way out on their own. Especially this time of year.
Yes.
The tiger swallowtails are really out right now.
Yeah.
And they find their way in. So yeah, and another tool that we use are these containers here.
I saw her working with these just now.
So they're really for like sapling, tree sapling production to create that nice, this is for a taproot. But we use them for some of our longer term ephemeral type plants. has this liner that you can pull out, and then you can
Almost
check
like a
on the
core
roots.
sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you can see the roots.
Yeah.
And then also, when it comes time to unpot it, it peels off really easily.
Oh, wow.
So you can get plants out of them without disturbing the
Oh,
roots
that's
really
pretty
easily.
neat.
Which is super. Some things we grow really don't like root disturbance.
Yeah.
And we would do them in something like this. It
Okay.
also is really hard to overwater those.
Yeah.
Because they have such a tall water column that it wicks out really well. So we can hose over these pretty much every day.
Yep.
And they don't get overwatered. And we even have a little raised bed area over here, which is still under construction into the future. But we do some collections development in these beds, and then eventually we're going to build some more beds where we'll have some stock to pull from sales for.
And then basically your base is just this bark mulch.
Yes, and
Okay.
this goes to soil underneath,
Okay.
whereas everything else has the gravel underneath of it.
Got it. Super cool. Wow, you still have more to go.
Room to
really.
grow,
Yeah.
yes.
So you really have built it in a way that you could grow into it.
Yes.
Well, this is great. I mean, I appreciate this. We've been waiting for it. I know that it was a little delayed. So when we wanted to come, it's not ready yet. So now it's ready, you're using it, and you have a sense of like what works and what you would tweak a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty impressive structure, I
Thank
have
you.
to admit.
We're
One of the
really-
better greenhouses that we've seen with like just a ton of functionality as well. So thank you
we're
so
really-
much.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to share it with you, and we hope that people kind of can apply some of those concepts that we've utilized here
Absolutely.
in their own greenhouses.
Yeah. Stay tuned here as well, because we'll have more tours and projects on our own land here at Flock. Give a like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button if you'd like to support. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.